Peloton, a word actually discouraged from the Formula E paddock. This form of racing began with the advent of the Gen 3 and happens at a few specific tracks. Here's a quick explanation. So in Formula E, each driver has to regenerate a portion of their usable energy during the race. They do this by lifting and coasting for each corner. Generally speaking, the driver in first is at the most energy disadvantage since they have to punch the biggest hole in the air and their car has to work harder, whereas the cars behind can follow in the slipstream using less energy. Generally in Formula E, the more energy you save throughout the race, the harder you can go at the end or when you need to make a pass. As a result, Peloton races began to form when no driver wanted to lead the race, so they would try to drop behind one another and ride in the slipstream. The result of this is crazy 2x2 3-wide racing and tons of passes for the lead and position, but all of it is basically meaningless. 80% of the race is just a game of ring around the rosy with the lead till they have enough energy to go flat out till the end. There's no cohesive narrative. The drivers absolutely hate it. The fans initially thought it was cool, but I think we all grew to hate it too. It's just soulless. This isn't real racing. All of these passes are meaningless if they aren't actually trying to pass one another. But the thing is, the Peloton is more of an issue at some tracks versus others. And that is my main claim in this video. Homestead Miami was a Peloton race, the first quote-unquote extreme Peloton race of the Gen 3 Evo era. In some ways, every Formula E race is sort of a Peloton race, but at some tracks, drivers are actually able to race properly, and the disadvantage of leading the race isn't as severe. And it tends to happen on tracks that are A, tighter, B, have more hard braking corners versus straights, and C, have less runoff space. Tracks like Sao Paulo, Tokyo, London, Monaco, all of these allow drivers to actually race for position and not for energy gain, and the passes for position matter in the grand scheme of things. But tracks like Shanghai, Portland, Berlin, Misano, and now Homestead Miami are all extreme Peloton races. These tracks are so wide and have so much runoff space that drivers can easily get to the side and let a whole pack of cars stream past. Most of these tracks are also higher speed with fewer hard braking corners, which encourages wilder energy conservation and keeps the cars closer together. For example, on a street circuit with a 90-degree corner, the driver ahead takes a turn and the driver behind is out of the slipstream for a good bit of time, so the advantage is decreased. Compare this to a wide sweeping corner at a permanent facility, the car behind can stay in the slipstream for almost the entire duration of the corner. Now, energy conservation in and of itself is a great thing. It adds an element of strategy that is totally unique to Formula E. But when it's the only thing that matters in a race, and you're purposely trying to drop back behind a pack of cars to do it, giving up the lead in the process, it's just not right. It's dangerous in all honesty, and I'm surprised we haven't seen a massive NASCAR-style pile-up from these races. They make qualifying basically worthless, as your starting spot doesn't matter. They make attack mode next to useless. With the Gen 3 Evo, attack mode was given a huge buff. It was so fun to see the drivers strategize with it in Mexico, Sao Paulo, and Jeddah, and fly past others towards the front. But with Peloton races, it doesn't even matter. It's just a nuisance and causes more issues, as we saw at Miami. Formula E knows this is a problem. I'm convinced the reason they tried to introduce the Golden Lap earlier this season, which if you don't know was a random lap in the race that would have awarded points to the race leaders akin to NASCAR, this would be an attempt to get them to actually race for the first 80% of the race instead of trying to duck out of the lead. This idea was scrapped, and I'm kinda glad it was, but the problem still prevails. The root problem, I think, is the circuit. We need to go back to more tighter circuits with maybe a bit of runoff, but not a lot. Certainly not enough to allow for a driver to park it on the outside and let 3 cars go past no problem. It's funny, for the longest time, us Formula E fans yearned to get out of the tight, twisty street circuits for more purpose-built facilities. Now, we're almost asking for the opposite. Nevertheless, it's something that I think Formula E is definitely working on. They axed Misano and Portland from last year and seem to be working on axing Shanghai and Homestead. Homestead I know was definitely not their first option for a US race. Aside from them, the only other circuit I expect to see Extreme Peloton at later this year is Berlin. But to be honest, I think that one is getting a bit better. Last year's races weren't as bad as some other tracks. And to be honest, I really don't want to see Formula E leave Tempelhof. It's so iconic, and if anything, that's Formula E's signature track. And finally, I want to throw out the fact that there are other ways around this, such as upping the usable energy allocated to each car or reducing the amount allowed in regen, but those options are really unpredictable in my eyes, and I think the easiest way would be to simply reduce the number of circuits that encourage the style of racing. Anyways, let me know what you think of all this down in the comments, because I know there are a lot of people who actually do like the Peloton and may disagree with everything I've said. I'm totally open to conversation. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.